you're a person like me that's never really liked the Battlelog skill system to show the performance of a player, well, I'm happy to say Dxtory are trying out a new prototype to show players' performance in a more detailed way. Before I show the new system, I'm also going to go over some of the new and old changes on CTE to air and land vehicles, including the new Angled Multiplier system and the changes to inside and outside repair rates for air vehicles. So a couple of weeks ago, a Dxtory dev took to Reddit and asked the question, what should determine a good player, or what's the definition of a good player? That thread received a huge amount of suggestions and concerns, but with so many different types of ideas, the same Dxtory dev took to Reddit once again to say that because there's so many different suggestions, he decided not to capture it all into one single number. Instead, they removed the skill value from the profile page and replaced it with a playstyle radar chart, which honestly, with enough refinement, it could end up working extremely well. Anyone that's on CTE can check out this new prototype, but basically, as we can see here going into my profile page, we can see a new radius type chart with various categories. You'll see on the top right you can select which chart to display for each class. This particular one is for assault, which contains assault skill per minute, assault kills per minute, accuracy, revives and heals. Each class has charts showing off performance relative to their class, so Engineer has repairs, AT Soldier and AA Soldier. The support class has Mortar Bombarder and resupplies, which is a pretty damn important stat to see if that particular support player actually drops ammo. And as for recon, they have sniper accuracy, sniper headshots and motion sensor spots. Like I said, this is just a new prototype, so of course it still needs some work. If you have any suggestions, leave your thoughts down below, because this type of feedback Dxtory really do need, and it's something that can help all of us. As for my suggestion, I would like to see maybe another section in the radius graph in the form of total objective points, so you can easily see players' performance when it comes to objective play. Maybe for the recon class they can add targets marked with the PLD and enemy spotted. Also, a Reddit user suggested a really cool idea in the form of adding a ranking system alongside the graph. So for example, on the assault class can have ranks to show how good of a medic he is. It can show if you're a bronze medic player all the way up to silver, gold, platinum, diamond and elite being the top tier rank. But moving on from this, let's go over some changes I talked about in my last few videos. Remember how I said that all launchers were disabled from the passenger seats? Well, that seems to be somewhat reverted. All the dumbfire rockets can be used once again, but you still are not allowed to use any of the lock-on launchers. The speed inheritance feature I also went over in my previous video has been removed altogether. I'm guessing mainly due to the overwhelming negative reaction from the community. Honestly, in my opinion, I think this concept could work if they lowered the speed inheritance effect in-game, because even at ranges of 40 meters or so, it would drastically deviate your projectile. However, in saying that, maybe systems like this are best kept for the next Battlefield game. It's probably too late for BF4. I briefly talked about air vehicles receiving repair rate modifiers to try and balance out the inside versus outside repair times. I'm sure we all know the Scout Heli with 2 engineers repairing at once extends the life of that particular air vehicle way too much. To show you guys exactly how it's been tweaked, this comparison here is me repairing the Scout Heli to full HP while inside of the vehicle. If you watch closely at its HP, you can see in the CTE it's repairing a hell of a lot slower than retail. In fact, from 9% to 100% it takes around 56 seconds. On retail BF4 it's 34 seconds, which is a step in the right direction as in-flight repairs are just too powerful in this vehicle and you may want to actually land first in order to repair, which you'll soon see is a perfectly viable option. In this comparison, while repairing outside the Scout Heli, you can see this time around it's completely opposite. I know it's kind of hard to see, but look at the repair icon. In CTE, you can actually repair quite a lot faster than retail at 18 seconds, from 9% HP to 100% versus on retail BF4 it takes 29 seconds. So like I said to all the Scout Heli pilots, you may want to change up your playstyle and not fly in dangerous territory continuously, with only very little fear of being destroyed. Engaging a few targets and flying away to safety to repair looks like it's going to be the best viable choice here. And moving on to some older changes that I've yet to mention in a video. The AA mines for Engineer have changed quite a bit. Their damage has gone up and they're immune to below radar. So for example here in CTE, the AA mine can inflict 42 damage to the attack heli, and normally you can't use them if you have a lock-on launcher also equipped in your loadout. Well, that's been changed, so you can use the AA mines and the lock-on launcher like you can see here. However, the amount of mines you can carry has gone down to 1. The PLD gadget for the Recon class has seen some tweaks to hopefully make it more attractive to use. Its range has been extended to 500 meters from 300 and its lock-on time has been lowered to 1.5 seconds from 2. So like I said, hopefully this makes the gadget more attractive to Recon players and use it to spot the enemy and laser designate targets so other members in your team can take down air vehicles. Though with the recent buffs to the lock-on weapons, I don't know if the attractiveness of the PLD becomes outweighed with a Recon player knowing just how powerful the Stinger and Eagles are going to be. I guess time will tell. And speaking of lock-ons, in my first video about the below radar feature, I talked about what missiles are affected by it. Previously, heat seekers from the MAA tank didn't lose the lock-on function if an air vehicle was within below radar altitude. In the recent patch, the heat seekers from the MAA will now lose the lock-on function, as you can see here, which is a change I do like. Also in that same video I talked about how active radar missiles were bugged and could still lock onto your target even if he's well within the below radar range. That bug has been fixed, so to all air pilots out there, you don't need to worry about active radar missiles locking onto you if you're within below radar. So let's talk about land vehicles. There's a new feature that's been added to the CTE client called Angled Multipliers. Basically the intention is damage from good angles will do more damage, but damage from bad angles do less damage. I decided to test this out with various angles to see the damage difference. So from a mostly vertical angle here, if I fire right at the top of a tank using the RPG, it does 22 damage in CTE, and in retail BF4 in the same location it does 22 damage, so no difference. On the front it's 28 damage on CTE and in retail it's 23, so we can see the damage is being increased on this angle. On the side it's 36 damage in CTE and 36 in retail. And finally at the back in CTE the RPG does 55 damage in both the retail client and the CTE client. So it seems like with these angles only the front has a damage multiplier on it, so if this change goes into retail BF4, probably not a good idea to expose the front of your tank. When I first read about this change, I thought the idea was Dxtory are trying to achieve is reduce the effect of vehicle drivers needing to deal with huge amounts of attacks from above, so maps that have a lot of verticality would be a good example here. But like we saw, the damage was increased at the front and other angles are exactly the same, so possibly more tweaking still needs to be done here. As usual, if you want to voice your opinion, try to download CTE for yourself, get some friends together and test out these changes, then leave feedback on the CTE subreddit. And before I end the video, I did say I was going to make a video going over in more detail about the other vehicle changes. However, this area seems to be changing with almost every patch, so I've decided to hold off from it until maybe after the next patch and see if anything changes. But anyway guys, that's it for today's video. Leave your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.